wish you all the fun and enjoyment and the peace of a very happy Christmas.
This week, we celebrate the Queen's first ever televised Christmas address, Kate and Meghan's best looks from 2019, and the biggest royal stories from the past decade.
Oh, wow, she says. Oh, wow.
Welcome to the Royal Report, everyone. I'm your host, Sharon Carpenter, and this is my posh pooch lady bread loaf looking very festive. Nice antlers. Say hello, girl. All right, now we have a lot to dive into this week, so let's get started. As always, let's kick things off with the Royal Week in Review. Last Thursday, a spokesman from Prince Charles's office told People that despite rumours the Queen may retire in 2 years, there are, quote, no plans for any change in arrangements at the age of 95 or any other age. So there. On Friday, we learned that on December 2nd, Prince Andrew drove to Sandringham for a meeting with Prince Philip and Prince Charles. The family gathering occurred just hours before the BBC aired their interview with Andrew's accuser, Virginia Giuffre. Sounds like a scene we'll be seeing in season 11 of The Crown, doesn't it? On Monday, we heard that Prince William and Kate have been serving up more than great style lately. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge have been spotted taking tennis lessons at the exclusive Hurlingham Club in London, working on that backhand. On Wednesday, Prince William joined several other members of the royal family at Westminster Abbey for a special service of Thanksgiving for Sir Donald Gosling, no relation to Ryan. Sir Donald was actually a supporter of naval charities and causes. That evening, the royals got glammed up for the annual Diplomatic Corps reception held at Buckingham Palace. The 1,000-guest white tie event is a pre-Christmas tradition and one of the highlights of the royal year. Always love seeing those tiaras. Well, the holidays are right around the corner, and for many of us, that means getting together with family, of course. The royal family is no different. They'll be spending Christmas at Sandringham, the Queen's country retreat, 100 miles north of London. Joining us now to break down what a typical Christmas at Sandringham entails is People Chief Foreign Correspondent Simon Perry is here. Hi, Simon.
Hi there, Sharon. How are you?
Good. You feeling in the holiday spirit?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
All right.
Outside, we could do with some snow.
All right, well, we are so glad to have you here to tell us what goes on behind the scenes at Sandringham. Let's start with this. Who typically shows up and who do we expect to be there this year?
Well, it's the Queen's family home in Norfolk, about 100 miles away from London, of course. So it's like any family, she invites all her family. So she has all her children, Prince Charles, Prince Andrew, Prince Edward and Princess Anne and their children typically. But obviously not everyone turns up. This year we're going to miss Harry and Meghan, of course, and
yes,
little Archie's first Christmas. That'll be somewhere else. So there'll be some conspicuous absentees, but yeah, most of them will be there.
And when does everyone arrive?
The family all arrive by about Christmas Eve through the day, and yeah, then they're set up to start celebrating. William and Kate, of course, just live down the road. They would be there before. They live about 2 miles away at Anne Hall. So. But most of the others arrive at the big house, at Sandringham House, on Christmas Eve.
OK, now I understand the royal family members often arrive with their own favourite foods, right? And that Prince Charles has a penchant for poached plums. He's very particular about his plums. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, Prince Charles is a famous organic farmer, loves his organic food, and has been known to bring a hamper of food for to be eaten over the period at Sandringham. Very particular about what he likes. So, yeah, he brings them along and the chefs serve it up, I guess.
Now, I assume they will take tea together. What time is that? And what does that entail on Christmas Eve?
Well, Christmas Eve, they'll have some tea, I think around 4, like most people in Britain would have a cup of tea. And then there'll be lots of cake, and they enjoy chocolate, especially some chocolate cookies and so on. William's penchant for a chocolate biscuit cake as well. And then after the cakes and the tea and so on, they retire to a room called the Red Drawing Room, I believe, where the servants have laid out a trestle tables and with cloths and so on them, and all the presents are laid out on those tables. Unlike most of us, they like to open their main presents on Christmas Eve. They follow a German tradition in doing that.
Yeah, I found that very interesting. What kind of presents do they exchange with one another? Because obviously they can have anything they want at any given time. So what kind of presents do we see them
Yeah, you're right,
exchanging?
Sharon. You're talking about the people who have everything, aren't they? And or can have access to most things. So they tend to give each other gag gifts, jokey things and so on. Uh, I think the Queen once had Billy the Fish. You remember those things you used to put on your wall and they'd sing and so on. Little fun things like that, just to make people laugh over Christmas. I think not. Uh, I think if you go overboard with jewels and cashmere sweaters, probably the rest of the family would frown on that.
Okay, let's talk about Christmas Eve dinner. What time is it and what might be on the menu?
Oh, the menu will be something very wintry, venison, things like that, boar maybe, lots of wintry vegetables. That's the first grand occasion of Christmas. Very dressy for the women and men in black tie. Yeah, it's a fine dinner, really. It's the real kickoff for Christmas.
Yeah, I can just picture it. Okay, moving on to the big day, Christmas Day. How do the festivities begin? Breakfast, I assume. What's served?
Breakfast, well, I think they'll have a lot of meat, bacon, sausage, eggs.
A big fry up, British fry up.
Yeah, full what we call a British breakfast. But they're out quite early. The Queen takes her religion very seriously. She goes to church twice on Christmas morning, so she'll be out by 9 o'clock. They'll have all opened their stockings, I suppose, at the end of their beds. I don't know whether the Queen still gets a stocking, but any stockings that are being delved into will have happened, I guess, before breakfast.
And the rest of them are off to church as well?
Yeah, I think the 9 o'clock one is less of a, I suppose, less important in some respects. So won't all go necessarily. The Queen always goes, and maybe some of the younger cousins are often seen then, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie and Prince William and so on. They might accompany her. And then later at 11 is the grander church service, should we say, and more of a family event where broadly everyone goes.
Got it. Yeah, when we think of the royals at Christmas, we often think of their traditional morning walk, right, to St. Mary Magdalene Church.
Yeah.
So after the service, it's back home for the main meal, Christmas lunch. What's on the menu this time?
Christmas lunch, well, that will be, like most of us having, who aren't vegetarian anyway, we'll be having turkey. They have a couple of two 25-pound turkeys, apparently. And there'll also be other meats, venison, again, to choose from. Interestingly, I find, especially for obviously the grandest family in the country, they have a buffet. Most of us would think you'd all have a big sit down with servants giving you all the meal at your table, but apparently they line up, Queen first, of course, take their food, the meat side of things, onto their plates, and then take to the table, which is then when they are served their vegetables and all the assorted potatoes or whatever else they might want.
Okay, and then after lunch, what does the royal family do to unwind after all that yummy food?
Well, that will be about 3 o'clock probably, and like a lot of people in Britain, they sit down and watch themselves. In the Queen's case, they watch the Queen's annual address. It's called the Queen's speech, but it's the Christmas broadcast, like we've just shown. They sit down in the salon and see what she has to say about the country and the family through the year.
Okay, so dinner's right around the corner. It's hard to believe they still have room for another meal after all that. But what are they cooking up for Christmas dinner?
Christmas dinner in the evening. That'll be a lot more meat and maybe some cold cuts and so on. I imagine it's a bit more of a casual affair, but they will change again though. So there'll be yet more changes for the women to ponder and to plan.
Okay, that's an amazing holiday experience. Simon, thank you so much for giving us a glimpse into Christmas at Sandringham, and please have a very happy holiday yourself.
You're welcome. Yeah, you too. And speak to you again.
Thanks, Simon. Okay, we have to take a quick break. When we return, we'll be serving up a few of the holiday dishes we just mentioned, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Joining me now is People Senior Style Editor Brittany. Talarico is back. And here for the first time, Sharon Carpenter, the owner of our favourite British restaurant in New York City, Tea and Sympathy. Welcome, guys.
Thank you very much for having us.
Hello, excited to be here.
Great to have you here, Tea and Sympathy, one of my faves, for
Thank
sure.
you.
Tell me about the name, the combination of Tea and Sympathy. Why did you come up with that?
It actually was a suggestion of a friend of my wife's. There was a fantastic play in the 60s called Tea and Sympathy, written by Robert Anderson, and it just sort of fit with what we're all about. Although we do have a slightly English sense of humour. When people come in and start whining about stuff, we always say, sorry, it's actually a misprint. It's actually Tea or Sympathy. So stop whining.
One or the other, then,
Yes.
and they go
you
for
had
the tea.
So bad luck, yeah.
Now, Sharon, I know firsthand English food can get a bad rap here in America, can't it? I don't know why. We have amazing, delicious dishes, but you're about to turn that reputation around. You've got some festive holiday treats with you today.
Yes.
We're about to indulge in Irresistible. And Brittany, we're going to be talking style a little later on, but I figured you'd appreciate being part of this tasting
I'm excited.
tasting session.
There we go.
Okay.
Happy to be a taste tester.
All right, so you have 3 holiday favourites.
Yes.
All right, what do we have first?
I think one of our first that we're going to tuck into, in honour of the royals, because they are big fans of these, the mince pies.
The mince pie. Oh, this is Jeff, by the way, one of our super producers. Say hi,
this
Jeff.
is Jeff, the world famous mince pie wrangler.
Yeah.
I'm going to
That's his
hand
other
that to
title.
you. There we go,
Oh,
my love.
thank you. I just take one as one
you-
for
no, you can
Brittany.
have them both,
Oh, I
don't
can
be
have them
shy.
both. All right, I can be greedy.
Have one for afterwards. There we go.
Thank
served With
you.
served warm with a blob of brandy butter.
Oh, I love that. Brittany, have you had a mince pie before?
I have not. I'm very excited. It's my first time.
Okay.
I'm old and married. It's nice to have beautiful ladies be excited about something.
What's in a mince pie?
Mince pie, well, technically they're called mincemeat because they used to make them with suet, which is like a rendered beef fat, as the fat in the pastry and in all the other bits and pieces in it. But it's made with raisins, sultanas, candied peel, molasses and all that. So it's sort of cooked down, it's like a jam, and it goes in these little pies with a short crust pastry. We make these on the premises. You can buy store-bought ones, we have those too, but these ones are so popular, much to the annoyance of our kitchen staff, I have somebody handcuffed to a stove since shortly before Thanksgiving because those go out in the hundreds every day.
Yeah. How did it become such a massive Christmas tradition, the mince pie?
I think it was. It comes from almost medieval times, really, where it was like a real treat to get that sort of fruitiness and all that sort of stuff. Because of course they didn't have refrigeration and they didn't have any of those. Because it's all about making preserves. So I think that was a big influence on it. But it's a very rich thing, and it's also a good thing to soak up some of the alcohol you might be taking for Christmas, especially if the in-laws.
All right. So you have to tell us what's the secret to making a truly delicious mince pie like these ones.
Well, you've got to get good mincemeat. You can either make it yourself, which is extraordinarily labour-intensive because there's all the different ingredients you have to put together, or we actually bring in mincemeat from England, ready-made, because we wanted to make sure we got it right. And then the other thing is the pastry. A lot of people get pastry wrong in life, so it's a proper short crust pastry, which we make on the premises.
Okay.
And I feel sorry for the boys in the kitchen because by the end of mince pie season, they have sort of concentric rings of blisters on their hands from where they're cutting little mince pies out and all this stuff.
All right, so Brittany, the moment of truth. From 1 to 10, the mince pie.
I'm going to say 9.
9.
That's a good
solid
one,
9.
starting off
9.
well. Okay.
I understand, you had to drop a point because it's a shock having your first mince pie. But don't worry, we do counselling as well.
Amazing. I really liked it.
Well, I've had mince pies before. I'm going to give this a 9 as well.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, what do we have next then?
We have another famous Christmas treat, which is sort of along the same lines in some ways, bit of Christmas pudding, which can also be served with
Christmas pudding,
brandy
yeah.
butter. It's like a really
Thank you
dense
so much.
fruit cake, which is steamed and then served piping hot. Now, for safety reasons, we couldn't serve it the way it's normally served. It normally comes to the table on fire. You warm a little brandy and pour that over the top.
Yeah, we didn't want to singe my eyebrows
Yeah,
today.
and also,
did we?
we didn't want to have a fire marshal standing by and all that stuff. And if you've had a couple of beverages at Christmas, it's always not necessarily the best idea to have something sort of liquid and burning coming to the table. But it does add to the fun, and it's, as I said, just another way of cramming a little bit of alcohol in for Christmas.
And it's served warm. This is
Yes,
warm,
it should
yeah.
be served steaming hot. We didn't want you to actually burn your mouths on this, but it is rather good, I think.
How did it become, sorry, excuse me for eating with my mouth full, but
That's okay.
how did it become the must-have dessert on Christmas Day?
Again, I think it's such a medieval thing. It's those sort of really dense puddings and all of those sort of really rich, sort of Lord of the Manor sort of dishes. Because this sort of food wasn't initially available to the great unwashed, as one would describe them, the populace. You know, so it was basically the Lord of the Manor, the royals, etc., would have access to this for centuries now. And then as things became more egalitarian, some of us not so high-born individuals were allowed to taste the finer things in life.
Ah, it can take a while to prepare this, can't it?
Well, you should really get out of it months ahead of time. And
Months? How many?
People start
Months?
making them 3 to 6 months in advance.
Wow.
Well, because it's not necessarily just the making of it. You make it and then you let it sit, but then you have to, as with all things, feed it a little bit of alcohol over a period of time.
Yeah,
They
which
say
preserves it, right?
Yes, preserving it, that's what it's all about. Now, also the fact that if you fed it enough alcohol, by the time it comes round to Christmas, you can actually just whistle and it comes walking in on its own.
Like this one did.
Yeah, that's it. Yes.
It wasn't Jeff, it walked in by
yes,
itself.
Yes,
yeah.
it came in under its own steam.
So, Brittany, it's on you.
It's delicious. I think I'm going to go up a half a point and get a 9.5 here.
There we go, 9.5.
A 9.5. I love
Heavy heights.
it. Yeah, it's a sultanas or raisins. We call them
Yep,
raisins, right? I really like that flavor. And
It's really good,
yeah,
right?
it's really good. The presentation of it, which we saw before, was beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm very impressed.
And this one's actually got, it normally has an alcohol in it, like you feed it with a bit of brandy and whiskey and all that fun stuff, but this one's actually made with a bit of Guinness. So it's got plenty of iron in there for any pregnant ladies that want to get a little bit of iron in there.
Oh,
There you
wow,
go.
that's the secret ingredient,
Yeah,
huh?
and
A
you can
little
always
Guinness.
argue that that's an important part of Christmas dinner.
There you go.
Well, I'm going to give it a 10.
Fantastic.
Woof,
Thank you.
absolutely delicious.
Thank you.
Warm. Amazing. Yeah,
Yes.
very tasty.
And you, I know you're being very professional. You didn't go this one slathered in brandy butter.
Extra
I
here.
was
you've got
eyeing,
some
I was eyeing Brittany's brandy butter. I was about to ask,
brandy
but
butter. There's
yeah.
And then the other things that we brought for you, we have some mince pies and we have some cakes that we bake on the premises, like our Victoria sponge cake, named after Queen Victoria, of course.
Yeah.
And a marmalade cake, which is actually spectacular and made with marmalade that my lovely lady wife makes on the premises. So
All
that's super
perfect for
yummy.
afternoon tea, as the royals love to have their
They
afternoon
do like to
tea
have
on
afternoon
Christmas
tea.
Eve.
And also, in honour of their German heritage, they tend to have afternoon tea at about 1 o'clock on Christmas Eve. Actually, about 2 o'clock on Christmas Eve, I understand. I've never been invited. So I don't know why.
Maybe next.
Yes, well, I don't know. Maybe my invitation's in the mail. They have an afternoon tea, so we have scones with clotted cream and jam, finger
best.
sandwiches, coronation chicken, named after the sort of days of the Raj, and an influence of India, tuna salad, egg salad, all the good stuff, and then some more mince pies and scones with cream and jam.
Well, amazing. Okay, I'm ready for the final dessert. Which one is it?
Bread and butter pudding, which I understand always been a favourite of Princess Diana. It was very much a comfort food. I remember growing up, I went to boarding school in England, and one of the newer schools. It was built in 1685.
Yeah.
And
not to be confused with bread pudding, right?
No.
These are two different things.
Yes, no, this is much gooier. It sort of gets a bit gooey and custardy towards the bottom.
What's it made with?
It's made with bread, butter, a little bit of cream, raisins, sugar, all the good things in life.
And what's the secret to the perfect bread and butter pudding?
Well, one should not try and make it too frilly, I think. It's got to be dense and moist enough. Don't overcook it, all that sort of stuff. I mean, we have a warped sense of humour with a lot of our stuff. For instance, the mince pies next door in our fish and chip shop at Salt and Battery at Christmas, we serve those deep fried as well with a blob of brandy butter on because it get the brandy
Very
butter going
indulgent.
across. But you can always put a bit of clotted cream on the bread and butter pudding. You can put brandy butter on it or whatever, and then you can do different flavours of bread and butter pudding. You can add rum to it and make it more like the old days of the British Navy when people used to be assigned a bottle of rum at the end of their voyage, all the crew. So
Okay.
the
Throw on
grog
some
ration.
alcohol?
Yes.
Why not?
Well, it's a holiday. One should be celebrating it one way or the other.
Exactly. So, Brittany, the final conclusion here.
I have to say this is my favorite of
That's
the
the one.
three. I'm a big carb girl. I love bread.
Yes.
So I would give this definitely a 10.
Fantastic.
If I was Paul Hollywood on the Great British Bake Off, I'd shake your hand.
Thank you very much. Well, I would consider it an honour either. Thank you very much.
It's delicious.
I had a feeling you were going to love this.
I love it.
I'm going to give this 11 out of 10.
Fantastic. There we go.
Yeah,
Look
I'm
at
going
it.
for 11.
I'm almost up to a full house here. That's fantastic.
Absolutely delicious.
Well, thank you very much for having us, and I'm glad you've enjoyed the desserts. They
Yeah.
seem to have gone down quite well.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm going to be
I'm gonna
saving
keep
this for
eating.
later, that's
Yes.
for sure. And you've totally turned around our reputation for bad food in the UK.
Well,
Thank you for that.
I think, we are. There was the days of the Second World War when we had the rationing, and a lot of the American servicemen thought that the sort of rationed food was as good as it gets. But I think for the 29 years this December 23rd that we've had tea and sympathy, I think we've done our bit to sort of prove that wrong.
You guys certainly have, yeah.
Fantastic.
And we'll have you back on with some more British
And we're not doing
delicacies.
Christmas crackers.
Next time, maybe after the show.
Fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. And Brittany, you're going to be sticking around. We're going to be talking style in just a few.
Can't wait.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Royal Report. People Senior Style Editor Brittany Talarico is still here with us. Always great hanging with you, Brittany.
So happy to be here. I'm excited. Today's a big day.
It is. Now, the end of the year is fast approaching, isn't it? So I thought it would be really fun for us to take a look back at some of the fab royal fashion from 2019. You've broken it down into 4 different categories. One look for each Duchess, correct?
Correct, yes. There's been so many great looks this year. It was so hard to pinpoint our favorites. So we thought we'll put them in some categories and we'll really hone in on the ones we thought made a huge impact.
Okay, let's get started. So first up is the best royal tour moment. Now we know they both traveled quite a bit this year and they wowed us with their fab fashion. Kate's top look on your list was this ombre number stepping off the plane in Pakistan in October, and I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, this was a beautiful moment. It went viral. As soon as she stepped out, all eyes were on her. This beautiful blue bespoke Catherine Walker dress. She looked amazing, so confident and happy, and it really set the tone for the rest of her royal tour. You could tell she was really putting thought into this wardrobe and really respecting the culture. Her look was a take on the shalwar kameez, which is a very traditional garment worn over there, and she wore it with Pakistani designer earrings. The whole thing was just a beautiful knockout, standout moment.
Just stunning.
Yeah.
Let's talk Meghan. Meghan's look was from her first day of events in South Africa this past September. This was a stunner as well, wasn't it?
It was great. It was a black and white Maya Miko dress, this really pretty printed dress, also setting the tone for what she was doing over there. This dress is from a fair trade brand. It's ethically sourced, made of ethically sourced cotton. This is all stuff that's really important to Meghan, and she showed that, and she showed her respect in that way by wearing that. Also the silhouette, that belted silhouette, we saw that became a cornerstone of her wardrobe. She was wearing that it kind of set the tone for the styles we're going to see her in for the rest of the year.
Okay, moving on. Next category. Let's talk about the best glam moments this year. So hard to choose because obviously so many standout looks. Your Kate look was from the Addiction Awareness Week Gala last June. Tell us why.
I love this look. It's Kate looks, she looks kind of sexy. It's a sexy Duchess moment, but she does it the right way. She shows a nice amount of skin in this off-the-shoulder Barbara Casasola dress. It looked amazing on her, a beautiful white color, and it's kind of a great way to show some skin if you don't want to show too much. That off-the-shoulder neckline is a really a nice kind of subtle way to do it. She looked glam. She looked like she was feeling herself. She wore really fun, sparkly Jimmy Choo heels. Just the whole look I loved, and I thought it's something that's wearable, and I think other people probably took note of that too.
And the clutch too, loved it.
Oh yeah, awesome.
Meghan did not disappoint either. While attending a reception in February during her 3-day tour of Morocco, Meghan stepped out in this gorgeous gold number. Hands down, one of her best looks while pregnant with Archie, right?
I think so. I mean, this was a decked out Duchess moment. It was very high fashion. It was Dior, beautiful. It had like a cape kind of detailing. She looked so regal, so confident. She was proudly showing her bump. It was just a really beautiful moment, and head to toe Dior too. We all wish we had some Dior hanging in our closet. I can say that.
We do. Yeah,
It's a beautiful moment.
Okay, next category, most buzzworthy looks. Those looks we couldn't stop talking about. Kate's was from George and Charlotte's first day of school back in September. Explain why.
Oh, I loved this look, a Michael Kors printed dress, actually a rewear. She had worn it before to one of Harry and Meghan's wedding festivities, but no one saw it on her, like it wasn't photographed. So she pulled it out, really fun colors, and everybody was talking about like a glow-up moment for Kate. Like she stepped out, she had a nice tan, her hair looked freshly highlighted. It was like she was going to her first day back at school, but yet she color coordinated with the kids too. They kind of all matched. She just looked just very happy and confident, and a very wearable Michael Kors dress. I loved that. And then she teamed with Prada pumps. The whole look was just awesome. It was a real family portrait moment.
Yeah, big bouncy blowout.
Yes, that blowout. And she looked like her subtle blonde highlights there too. She must have just been coming off summer vacation, feeling herself.
I think so, so she should. And Meghan's came earlier this year in February while attending the Endeavour Fund Awards with Prince Harry. Brittany, why did this fitted skirt and blouse have everyone talking?
I love this. It's a different look for a royal to wear, right? This is head to toe Givenchy. She looks so chic. That blouse, like the white blouse paired with the form-fitting skirt, it really showed her bump. It was just Givenchy is a label that she cares about a lot. She's worn a lot of pieces from them, and she just looked awesome. It also had like a Carolyn Bessette Kennedy vibe, which is one of Meghan's like style inspirations. I kind of loved that too. I think there was some you saw some of her true style come out there.
Yeah, seriously. And finally, we have to talk about the look of the year from each Duchess. This was so hard.
This was so hard. There's so many great looks.
Ultimately, you decided on Kate's gorgeous green gown from a reception in Pakistan on October 15th.
I loved this dress. It was just gorgeous, and it sparkled, and it paid, it honored the country she was in with that green color. It represented in the country's flag, so she made sure to honor the country, but also made it fashion. She had fun. Jenny Packham's a designer and a label she's worked with very closely. They made a beautiful custom look for her. It just felt like a true royal fairy tale fashion moment.
It did. Will looked great too, didn't it?
Yeah, and she also wore earrings from a Pakistani designer, so again, paying tribute. Really, she thought so much about that tour wardrobe, which I think is really, it just shows she's taking her royal duty seriously through fashion too.
Beautiful, yeah. As for Meghan's look of the year, she had the best accessory of the year. Of course, no surprise here, her white dress on May 8th for the debut of baby Archie.
I mean, this was the royal moment everybody was talking about, and now it's the royal outfit everyone's talking about. But it was the look of the year. It was that beautiful Grace Wales Bonner dress, that belted silhouette that she loves and she wears often. Just the whole family looked beautiful. We saw Archie. She looked comfortable and confident. She had just had a baby. That's no easy task, stepping out there, for the world to see. And she just looked beautiful, and that's in a silhouette that she's very comfortable in. And I think since then, those kind of trench belted style dresses have become soaring, like the sales of them have soared because people love her style. They love to copy it.
I love those too.
Me too, both of them. Everyone looked amazing this year. It was really tough to hone in on our favorites, but I think we did it.
Great job.
Yeah, thank you.
So many epic styles.
So many.
We'll do it again.
Can't wait to see what 2020 brings,
yes,
right?
I know, the new decade.
New decade.
All right, Brittany, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great.
Now, if you remember last week, baby Archie was #1 on our list of the top royal stories of 2019. But did he make our list of the top 10 stories of the decade? Stay tuned to find out. Welcome back to the show. It's now time for People's Senior Royals editor, Michelle Tauber. Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Hi, Sharon. I'm great. Thank you.
Great to see you. Now, Michelle, this December is obviously the end of the year, but it's also the end of the decade. You've been covering the royals this whole time, so there's no one better than you to give us the top 10 royal stories of the past 10 years. Okay, here we go. Your top 10 royal stories of the decade. At number 10, the recent announcement from Prince Andrew that he's stepping back from public duties for the foreseeable future. Michelle, this is obviously a huge story this year, but why do you think it deserves to make the decade list?
Yeah, the reason this one made my top 10 is that it was so unprecedented to see a senior royal make the decision to effectively resign from royal life, royal duty. That sent shockwaves through the whole family. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see as the fallout continues, whether or not, when he first announced that he was leaving, he said it was for the foreseeable future. And I think the sentiment right now is that it's going to be even longer than that. And he has his daughter's wedding coming up next year. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how high of a profile he has for that too. So that story is certainly not at all done. And I think it's been really fascinating to watch it unfold.
It certainly will. Okay, moving on to number 9. Prince Philip's retirement in 2017. Over 7 decades, Philip carried out royal duties on behalf of 780 organizations. So his time away, definitely well earned. But why was it such a huge story when it happened?
Yeah, not many 96-year-olds still working at the same job that they took on in this case, 1952.
Wow.
So Prince Philip ended his tenure as the longest serving consort in British history. He's the consort to the Queen, which is sort of like, her backup, her partner. It was really remarkable because he served that tenure sort of as you would expect from a military man, pretty stoically and unwaveringly. And seeing him leave, it was a real, end of an era.
Okay, at number 8, the 2018 wedding of Princess Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank. We all love royal weddings, of course, so I'm thrilled this one made your list, Michelle. In your eyes, what made it so memorable?
This wedding was such a delight. It came after Meghan and Harry's wedding a few months later. And of course, that wedding had, been a really big royal event. And we weren't expecting sort of all of the charm that came with Eugenie and Jack's wedding. One of the moments that stood out the most for me was the fact that Eugenie chose to show off the scoliosis surgical scar that she had from her youth with a dress that was low cut in the back. And my other favorite moment from that wedding was when her sister, Princess Beatrice, gave a reading at the pulpit, and she's had a very public struggle with dyslexia, and it was a very triumphant moment and a very sweet and personal moment as well.
Very inspiring. Okay, number 7, the Queen's cameo in the opening ceremony of the 2012 London Olympics on NBC. I love this. This might be one of the most surprising moments of the decade too. Michelle, just how shocked were you to see the Queen and her corgis appear alongside James Bond 007 himself, and to get a glimpse into her more playful side?
I mean, I was shaken and stirred. It was a fun, unexpected, for sure, moment from a woman who lives her life extremely guarded, obviously extremely by the book. And this was her letting her royal hair down, so to speak. And that moment that we're seeing her, where she's sitting with her back to the camera, I think many people thought, oh, it's a stand-in, it's a double for the Queen. And then when she turns around right there and you see it's actually Her Majesty with James Bond, it was a great thrill.
Yeah, quite the stunt woman, and I'm sure that was Lofi in that video as well. Number 6 takes us all the way back to 2010, Prince William and Kate Middleton's royal engagement. Of course, the couple have been dating on and off for 8 years, so this wasn't much of a surprise, but obviously still a huge moment. What do you remember most about this story?
Well, for me, by far, the standout moment from their engagement was the engagement interview they did after announcing that they were going to be married. And when Kate held up her ring finger and showed that she was wearing the sapphire ring that had belonged to Princess Diana, I think we all felt a really emotional tug. And William in the interview said, "My mother couldn't be here, so I wanted to make sure she was present in a different way." And it was poignant. It was beautiful. We saw the two of them sort of giddy over, recalling the details of the engagement. William admitting that he had to work up his nerve, his courage to pop the question. And they even addressed the fact that they had a significant breakup along the way. And Kate acknowledged that, it was a time that she was able to find herself. So it was about as revealing as we've ever seen them, even since then.
Very real moment. Okay, number 5, another royal engagement, the 2017 announcement from Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. What can you tell us about the day this story broke, and just how different was it from William and Kate's?
Yes, this is the roast chicken engagement. So if Kate and William were the African safari engagement, we got to see Meghan and Harry recall that their engagement took place in their cozy cottage back when they were still living in Kensington Palace, with Harry on one knee as Meghan cooked her signature roast chicken. But in a bigger picture way, we were seeing the realization of the most unlikely royal romance in generations, which is, Harry falling for an American actress. And certainly around the office, it was a pretty busy day.
Yeah, it was awesome. Okay, moving on to number 4, the birth of baby Archie. This was just 7 months ago. What stands out to you most from that day?
For me, the standout moment was Harry speaking at the stables at Windsor just hours after Archie's birth. They hadn't even decided on the name yet. And it was the most giddy, joyful, just sort of unabashed bliss I've ever seen from Prince Harry or any royal for that matter. And he was sort of gushing in ways that you could so relate to any new dad. He was saying things like, I can't comprehend how any woman could ever do this. And, I'm so over the moon. Archie's just this incredible little thing. And it was true new dad pride and joy. It was really wonderful to see.
It was. Okay, number 3. We have a 3-way tie here, because how can you pick between the births of George, Charlotte and Louis? Obviously, George's birth was huge since he'll be the future king. But why were all 3 of these days just so important?
Yes, no favorites here. So it was really remarkable to be able to see the start of the next generation of royals. And that began with George, who of course is first in line in terms of succession behind William. And that was a historic and thrilling moment. It was also the arrival of Princess Diana's first grandchild. And again, there was a lot of poignancy about the fact that she would never get to meet that grandson and how much she would have loved that. We spoke with many of her friends at the time who said she just would have truly delighted in becoming a grandmother. And then with Charlotte, we got a princess, which we haven't had for at least a generation. And again, such a fun new era for the royal family. And then to watch them expand their family yet again with Prince Louis, I think really cemented William and Kate in terms of, sort of assuming the status of the future king and queen. Their families really gelling. They're juggling, almost as many children as the queen. They're one short. But it felt like the actualization of their family, and it felt really complete and robust, which was fun.
Now, we actually don't have a number 2 because there's a 2-way tie for number 1. By far, the 2 biggest stories of the decade were the 2 royal weddings, Will and Kate's in 2011, Harry and Meghan's in 2018. Michelle, what do you remember most from covering these enormous events?
How stressed out I was. But yeah, you cannot top a royal wedding. They are the ultimate in royal pomp and pageantry. And with William and Kate, again, we had watched for 8 years. Royals fans had been anticipating this big moment. For me personally, that wedding, the standout moment was the camaraderie between the brothers, between William and Harry. You saw William's nerves. You saw Harry being kind of playful and lighthearted and supportive of his big brother. And then, of course, just how ravishing and exquisite it was to see Kate, the next generation of princess. Then over to Meghan and Harry. I mean, how on earth could it get better than seeing an American princess, become part of the world's most historic and most celebrated royal family? And I think in that case, it was really obviously a real joy to see how much of the service was infused with Meghan's African-American heritage. We all remember the incredible sermon by Reverend Curry, and the marriage of their 2 cultures. So both impossible to choose, as you say, and both truly memorable, spectacular events.
Thanks so much, Michelle, for helping us relive so many great moments.
Thank you, Sharon.
Okay, we have to take a short break. We will be right back. Welcome back to the Royal Report. It's time now for our social media minutes.
Hi Sharon, it's fair to say these might be some of my favorite royal posts ever. Let's get the clock in here and start timing now. Last Thursday, the Sussex Royal Instagram page marked the 1-year anniversary of Meghan's visit to the Hub Community Kitchen with these photos. The charity cooks meals for the local community, and in a sweet note, Harry and Meghan thanked the ladies for their inspiration. Great to see them showing continued support to such a worthy organization. Also last Thursday, the royal family's Instagram page posted this flashback photo of the Queen meeting Marilyn Monroe at the royal film performance in 1956. The royal family has supported the event since 1946. I never get tired of seeing a good glam moment from the Queen. On Saturday, William posted this video to the Kensington Royal Instagram page to thank the countries of Kuwait and Oman after his recent royal visit. It was his first time in both places, and the trip highlighted links between these nations and the UK in education, defense, and environmental causes. Hey William, can your next royal tour be a family affair? We need new photos of the Cambridge kids. And finally, on Tuesday, the Kensington Royal page posted this behind-the-scenes video from Will and Kate's recent attendance to the Royal Variety performance. It aired on Tuesday in the UK and benefits entertainers throughout the country who need assistance. Fingers crossed we'll be able to see it here in the US too. That's your social media minute for this week. Back to you, Sharon.
Thanks, Jillian. That was, of course, our social media correspondent, Jillian Fleischman. Great work, as always. Now, earlier this week, we had a very special treat. Celebrity hairstylist Christopher Naselli dropped by to show us how to recreate one of Meghan Markle's favorite looks. Check it out. I'm with a very talented man right now. Celebrity hairstylist Christopher Naselli is with us. He has run his fingers through the hair of the likes of Frida Pinto, Jessica Biel, Amy Adams, and many, many more. How are you doing, Christopher?
I'm doing really well.
So great to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, you know, we're all loving Meghan Markle's hairstyles. She nails it every time, from a signature straight blowout to a messy bun. Don't you just love a versatile woman?
I love a versatile woman. I mean, who doesn't? She's not afraid to play with her looks, from her fashion to her hair. She goes up, she goes down, buns, straight, wavy. She keeps us guessing.
You're somebody who can recreate any look out there, and today you're going to teach us how to achieve one of my favorite Meghan looks, her big bouncy waves.
Big bouncy
I
waves.
love that look on her.
Yeah, I do too.
So how are we going to achieve this look today?
Well, we're going to start with a nice, big, beautiful blowout.
Okay.
And then we're going to go in, take sections, different types of waves. The front is a little bit more exaggerated, where the back has a little bit more bounce.
I am super excited. I'm ready for my transformation.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So what we have here to start this beautiful look is a beautiful, clean blowout to keep the hair smooth, shiny, and then we can build from there. It's a good way to start. Then the next step is sectioning your hair into 4 sections. It's always best to make clean, beautiful sections, because that's just going to make your life a whole lot easier during the process. Because once you have a hot iron in your hand and you're trying to like figure out where you're going, it's like I have so much hair all the way around. So if everything's nice and clean, then you know exactly where to start working and what you've already done. So the reason why I like to pre-curl and set it with a pin is it automatically structures the hair and makes it set very loosely. So it kind of prepares it for when you're about to hit it with the curling iron. So what you're gonna do is I just kind of just rock it right at the root a little bit, close the iron, and then just kind of pull down all the way. And then once I get halfway down or 3/4 of the way down, I just start to kind of roll up. So the reason why I'm doing this type of curl is because I want the back to be a little bit more bouncy, a little bit more, not so structured like an S-wave. I just want this to have nice bounce and big movement. So I'll hold this for about 10, 12 seconds, open it up, release the curl. Now sometimes you can just let it kind of just hang and set on its own, or you can actually take a pin and re-roll it and just kind of let it set into place and just leave it and forget about it. And then just continue to work up the head until you're all done. So to get the size a little bit more exaggerated, we're kind of have to change the curl pattern a little bit. It's the way you wrap the hair around the curling wand, where the back was more of like a barrel where you just kind of roll and pin. We're gonna kind of pull away from your face and start the wave right along your jawline. So it's not gonna be like a super high curl. We're gonna start it kind of lower. And the way we wrap it is more wrapping around the iron than rolling it up. All right, so now I'm gonna start to take all the curls down from the back, and then I'm gonna show you how to kind of brush the whole thing out. So as you can see, it's just kind of formed this nice big bouncy wave. What we're gonna do is just gonna take a brush, soft bristle brush, a little bit of hairspray, and then very gently, you're gonna start at the crown and just kind of work your way down and just softly kind of brush all this out. So it's nice and airy and fluffy and bouncy. And you have royal waves.
Wow. Ooh, I love it. Very Meghan Markle.
Very bouncy.
Okay, so to review, because I want to make sure I get this right.
Yep,
You
the rundown.
started with a beautiful clean blowout, a blank canvas.
For clean, beautiful, shiny hair.
Then it's time to section the hair. Then it's about curl, curl, curl.
Tons of curls.
And
Yep.
lastly,
Most importantly,
the light brush.
the light brush. That's it.
All right, sounds simple enough.
Yep.
I'll try it myself at home and see if it comes out the same way.
Hopefully it will.
You're awesome, Christopher. Thank
Thank
you
you so
much. Thank you for being here. We'll have to do it again
Yeah.
sometime very soon.
Please.
Maybe next time, the Queen's coif.
I love that. Let's do
Let's
it.
make it
Let's do it.
happen.
Let's make it happen.
If Meghan's waves look familiar, that's because we saw them last month on Remembrance Day. So stunning. Time for one more break, but when we return, the Queen's very first televised Christmas address. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, with Christmas less than 2 weeks away, we are definitely looking forward to the Queen's annual address, which is broadcast Christmas Day at 3 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. The easiest way to watch it here in the States is to stream it on the royal family's YouTube channel at 10 a.m. Eastern. Here's a look at last year's speech.
Only a few people acknowledged Jesus when he was born. Now, billions follow him. I believe his message of peace on earth and goodwill to all is never out of date. It can be heeded by everyone. It's needed as much as ever. A very happy Christmas to you all.
That was the Queen's 66th televised Christmas address. And this week in royal history, we are celebrating her very first one. Take a look.
Happy Christmas. 25 years ago, my grandfather broadcast the first of these Christmas messages. Today is another landmark, because television has made it possible for many of you to see me in your homes on Christmas Day.
On December 25th, 1957, Queen Elizabeth gave the first televised Christmas address in royal history.
It's inevitable that I should seem a rather remote figure to many of you, a successor to the kings and queens of history, someone whose face may be familiar in newspapers and films, but who never really touches your personal lives. But now, at least for a few minutes, I welcome you to the peace of my own home.
Her heartwarming 7-minute speech was delivered live from the Long Library at Sandringham House, the Queen's private home roughly 100 miles north of London.
I hope that 1958 may bring you God's blessing and all the things you long for. And so I wish you all, young and old, wherever you may be, all the fun and enjoyment and the peace of a very happy Christmas.
The Queen continued to deliver her Christmas address live for 2 more years before deciding to pre-tape them, and she has given one every year since, except for 1969. That was the year the BBC documentary on the royal family came out, and if you watched The Crown, you'll remember Elizabeth felt the monarchy was a little overexposed.
The royal family documentary has had a great deal of interest from overseas broadcasters.
No,
Ma'am?
I don't think so. As a matter of fact, I think it best if that documentary were never seen again, anywhere, by anyone.
So that's why the Queen opted to deliver a written message in 1969. All right, well, it's been another fantastic week for Royal Watchers. Sadly, this is our last show of the year, so we won't be seeing you again until 2020. I want to thank this cutie, my co-host, Lady Breadloaf. You can follow her on Insta at BreadloafCorgi. And remember to follow us at People on Twitter to watch the latest episodes of The Royal Report, streaming every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm Sharon Carpenter. Happy holidays, everyone. Ta-ta, till next time.